Mike Smith was just fired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the day after they lose a heartbreaker to the last team that fired him. Where do they go from here? Will this be enough to save the season? We'll go over all of that and more right now. Welcome back to the Player Reaction. I'm Corey Draper, and this is the place on YouTube to catch up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me start off by thanking every one of you who subscribed to this channel. We just hit the 1,000 subs mark, and I could not be more humbled and thankful that all of you would choose to subscribe and keep coming back. The Bucs fan community is amazing, and my goal is to bring us all together to celebrate and commiserate with each other. Because win or lose, football is just better with friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's a good time to do it now because we're just getting started here. More content and opportunities to interact are coming soon. Also, a very special thank you to Rendax of the Pewtercast, who sent me this nifty flag so I can wave my poor decisions proudly here in Atlanta. Speaking of Atlanta, the Bucs just had a weird game with the Falcons. One that led to the thing most of Bucs Nation has been calling for a while, the firing of defensive coordinator Mike Smith. I'm all about context here, so let's recap the game real quick and talk about what got us here. The Bucs started out strong with a touchdown drive on their first possession. That was followed by a missed extra point. The Falcons then had their way with this defense for the rest of the half. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Well, this is familiar. Meanwhile, the Bucs offense stalled and couldn't keep the defense off the field. Once the Bucs started to get momentum again, Jameis throws a bad deep ball and it gets picked. They get one more shot at it before halftime and finally score another touchdown with less than 30 seconds left in the half. Suddenly, they're only down one score at the end of the half. Okay, maybe they have a shot here. Oh crap, the defense has to go back out there for 30 more seconds. They of course allow the Falcons to march right in and get a field goal in that time. Come on! Now, something that has been a trend with this defense, with the exception of the Bears game, is that somehow they remember their professional football players at halftime and play well in the second half. This game was no different. The D finally forced some 3 and outs, but of course, because we can't have nice things, that's when the Bucs offense decides to start screwing up. They opened the half by getting to the 2-yard line, and then shooting themselves in the foot with a false start, followed by a throw that bounces to the moon and falls into a Falcons' hands. There's the Bucs I know and love. But the team fought hard to bring it within 2 points. The offense failed on their 2-point conversion, but the Bucs were back and had a chance. And right on cue, the defense allows their first touchdown in the half immediately after. At this point, it was a race against the clock. The Bucs score on offense yet again, and now the defense just has to make one more stop and will be in great shape to take the lead. Then a ghost of Bucs pass comes in to drive the nail.
Snap, hold, and Bryant has done it.
So poetic. This meant the Bucs needed to score a touchdown and just ran out of time. But it wouldn't be a Bucs loss without that heartbreaking almost play.
Falcons are going to rush 3. And Winston is pitching the ball backwards. And it is now flipped to Desean Jackson, and the ball's out of bounds. They almost pulled off the miracle.
If D-Jax catches that ball, it's a touchdown. But he plays for Tampa, so that couldn't happen. So the Bucs lose their 3rd game in a row. Now, this is normally when I go over what was awesome about the game, but today I'm gonna switch it up because it's what was not so awesome that led to the headline for the week. The defense somehow managed to look horrible and good at the same time in this game. They were down yet another corner with Carlton Davis out and allowed easy completions to back up Falcons receivers. They allowed Matt Bryant to complete 75% of his passes. They barely got any pressure in the first half. They didn't force any turnovers. The result? The other team scoring 34 points. The Bucs are not only at the very bottom in terms of yards allowed, points allowed, and completion percentage, they're on a record-setting pace for futility. Greg Allman of The Athletic tweeted that since 1940 and entering Sunday's games, teams with 100+ rushing yards, 395+ pass yards, and 4+ pass TDs were 51-1-1 all time. Bucs lost to the Falcons with those stats. So the Buccaneers were only the 2nd team since 1940 to lose a game with that kind of offensive output. That's just one of the many horrifying stats that shows that Mike Smith had to go. They were even all over him on the game broadcast. What's crazy is that the second half of this game gave us a glimmer of hope. The defense actually looked like a real defense after halftime. And that's pretty consistent with how other games have gone in the past, which is another frustration we felt with Mike Smith defenses. They just could never put together a complete game. So Smitty is out. Now what? We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, the offense isn't without blame here. They couldn't go toe-to-toe with the Falcons in the first half and made some very key mistakes this game, including turning the ball over in the red zone. You just can't do that against a high-powered offense and having no defense to bail you out. Then there's the kicker. Chandler Catanzaro missed an extra point, which led to the Bucs trying to convert a 2-point conversion, which led to a lead the offense couldn't overcome because they were down by 5 points instead of 3. Now, Big Cat is no Aguayo and he's no Nick Folk. He's been solid this year, but man, when you have a former Buc on the other side nailing a 58-yarder, it just rubs salt in our wounds. Alright, now let's talk about what was awesome about this game. Jameis Winston's first start since his suspension was a good one statistically. He made 2 very costly picks, but otherwise he was solid, throwing for 4 touchdowns and almost 400 yards, which will basically be the story of his career. I expect him to continue growing this year. Hey, remember the run game? It was back! It almost got game scripted out yet again, but Peyton Barber had his best game of the season, as he averaged 6.3 yards a carry. Plain and simple, when this run game is going, good things happen for this offense. Speaking of running backs, rookie rusher Ronald Jones didn't drop any passes. In fact, he had 3 catches. Hopefully he continues to grow and good things are ahead. So now let's take a look at what's ahead this week. The Bucs come home to play the 2-3-1 Cleveland Browns, and this is the exact kind of game the Bucs love to lose. Cleveland is better this year than they have been, but they're still not very good. They have a rookie quarterback in Baker Mayfield, and their defense is young, but pretty solid. So here we are with a new defensive coordinator, linebackers coach Mark Duffner, and he has a chance to lead this defense to a place where they can stop all of the terrible trends. Duffner, who I will now call Duffman, has been in the league for a long time and has some experience as a defensive coordinator, though that was 16 years ago. His numbers weren't that great, but the hope is that his experience will help the transition go smoothly and that he's seen enough to know what he can do differently than Smith. But let's temper our expectations, Bucs fans. It's still the same scheme and still the same players. Don't expect this defense to change overnight. But hopefully Duffman can get them back to at least being competitive. Are you ready to get duffed? Oh yeah! So what do you think? Will Duffman right the ship, or is it too little too late? And what about the offense? Have they shown you enough to make you believe they can win and overcome a subpar defense? Let's get a conversation going in the comments. I usually ask you to subscribe here, but right now I think the best thing you can do to support this channel is to share this video. Share it with your friends and family, and let's grow this community of passionate Bucs fans. Alright guys and girls, here's hoping we're at least better than the Browns. Go Bucs!